much louder?
No.
Okay. Okay, we're going to start over.
Yes.
No, I really am humbled to be here today because I want you to know that, what God has done in my life in the past year has been very traumatic, but very healing. And that's part of what I want to talk to you about today.
It's
still hanging on.
Yeah.
Is that thing?
You need a different mic.
Yeah. I can't hold it.
I think Regina said it's the mic. Here comes Brandon. Here comes Brandon.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Testing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Don't move. Don't breathe. Okay. Up so I can see it. Okay. I was really excited when they asked me to speak because this year's theme was Born with a Purpose. And this just really resonated with me. I think, the Bible says in 8:28 that we know that all things work good to those who love the Lord, to those who are according to his purpose. And for me, when I was thinking about what I want to talk about, I thought about ashes with purpose because I really do believe that God can transform anything that's happened in our lives that we consider ashes. Maybe not by his definition, but by ours, and transform it into something beautiful and purposeful for his honor and glory. So I just wanted to just say that, I do truly believe that God does choose us, that we are chosen, and we are created with a purpose for a purpose. And unfortunately, I think Satan wants so much to deceive us and lie to us and convince us that that's not always true. And he works 24/7, 365 to try and convince us of that, to distract us from what God's purpose is for our life. And Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, saith the Lord, the plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future." I don't know if all of you were blessed to be here last night when Gianna Jessen spoke, but it was awesome. And I had the great privilege of spending some time with her yesterday afternoon, and I don't know, I stood in awe of what God is doing in her life and the purpose that she's serving in her life in place of all that's happened. She could be a very angry and very disgruntled person, and yet she's taken that and used it for God's glory. And she was talking about the gift of cerebral palsy, and she said, God gave me this gift because he knew it would keep me dependent upon him. And I was thinking about that, and I thought that's so true. Her saline abortion that her mother had failed, and unfortunately Satan was not too happy about that. So he decided, well, my death trap didn't work, so I'm just going to give her cerebral palsy. But you know what? God had bigger plans. He had different plans, and Satan was defeated that day more than he could ever imagine. So she uses her voice and her singing to tell the truth about Jesus Christ and the purpose that God has, and a purpose in a God who makes no mistakes. And her life and the situation that she lives her life in was not a mistake. We may think that it was, but that's not what God sees. That girl is a vessel whom God is using in lives that she could have touched no other way. And I believe that God works the same in our lives. He tried to steal her life by burning her in the womb. Satan. He's still at work trying to burn us today. He's trying to burn us alive. He can't take our salvation, but he can take our joy and our purpose. and he works really hard at that. I want to commission you today to understand something. That you are born on purpose, and that you are not a mistake. No matter what you've been told, what you believe for yourself, because Satan is always going to be sitting on your shoulder whispering that in your ear 24/7. He's going to try and defeat you and distract you from what he knows God can do in you and through you. And as long as we buy into that, he gets his way, he gets the victory. But in order for us to live victorious lives in Jesus Christ, we have to be able to dispel that and to honestly go and seek truth and believe that truth and know that that truth lives within us. And I want today to encourage you to daily go before the throne of grace every day. Get your portion for today and take that so that it nourishes you and it strengthens you to be able to carry on in the battle that is set before you today. It is a battle. And just like Gianna was saying, her life is a limp. And she limps, one day at a time. But God sustains her, and he will sustain us. But we've got to surrender that to him and give that to him. And I want you to understand that you can live your promised land right here. Promised land is not heaven. Promised land is here on earth. And I think one of my biggest misconceptions was, when you get saved and you're living for God and you're doing his will, that everything is supposed to be great and wonderful. And there's, if there's heartache and pain and suffering in your life, then you must be doing something wrong. Quite the contrary. Now, I'm not to say that, our sin doesn't have consequences. And sometimes those consequences we bring upon ourselves because we're not obedient, because we're disobedient. But there are things that come to us that are inflicted upon us because of other people's sin. And such was the case with Gianna. That doesn't mean that God can't use, again, what Satan meant for harm to be something that he can use for his honor and glory. So today I want you to claim your full inheritance. I want you to live in your promised land today. And I know you may say, well, Gianna survived, but she has the CP, and, it's really hard for her, and, she struggles. So, really, was it worth saving her life? Really, was she, what did she really gain out of that? And she'll tell you, and she did last night, that, it is a struggle for her. And there are things that she has issues with, the fact that she's not married and she doesn't have children, and, people view her different. But God can take our infirmities and he can do something extraordinary with them. But what we choose to see as maybe our infirmities is not what God sees. We see ourselves sometimes as the broken vessel, but that doesn't mean the broken vessel can't be used. It can't be used to hold the healing oil that God has. And so I want you to just let that resonate with you, because I want you to understand your purpose. No matter where you are in your brokenness or in your pain and suffering or where you've been, God is and can use you, but you've got to surrender that. This brings me to my part of my story that I wanted to share, and this was when I was talking about, finding my purpose and my ashes for his purpose. I was like, well, where did they come from? Where did my ashes come from? Was it from my brokenness? And then I realized that, no, the season that my ashes came from was my season of abundance. And that's a pretty odd place to find those. When I was in my 20s, I found a relationship with God. I was saved when I was 7. But my relationship with God was truly based on my salvation, and that was it. But in my 20s, I found that there was more. And I developed this personal relationship with God. It was a little different because I really had never understood what it meant to have a relationship with your Heavenly Father. Because as a lot of you have have heard and read, our relationship with our Heavenly Father is based a lot on the relationship with our earthly father. And I didn't have that. My relationship with my father was very broken. I didn't know what it felt to have a father's embrace. I didn't know what it felt like to have your father meet your needs. I didn't know what it felt like to even be able to go and ask to have your needs met. And so I basically decided, because again, Satan's lying and deceiving, and he told me, first of all, you're not worthy. Because I grew up in a home where, things were tough. We were poor, there was abuse and condemnation, and our church that we went to, the religion, you can never live up, you can never, be good enough. And so I just never felt that I was going to be worthy enough of God to meet my needs, much less bless me. So I pretty much decided I'd just take care of myself. And so that's what I did. So I went to college, graduated, I worked, went back to school, got a second degree. My career choices were going well, and I thought, I'm doing okay, I'm doing good. Let me just tell you, good does not always equate to godly. Things can be good. You can have a good marriage, you can have good whatever. But if God's not in it, and He's not the basis of it, and He's not the priority of it, it's never going to serve its purpose the way it's intended to. And so I was going around doing my own thing, being my own God, being everybody else's God, thinking pretty highly of myself, because I thought, I'm a good person, I'm a good Christian. I do all the right things that I feel like God's will for my life, and I'm good. I pretty much saw myself, very much in the prideful sense. And we just recently, I think we're still ongoing, got another chapter left, on a book called The Prodigal God. And in there we were learning about the elder brother, which I never really thought much about. We always hear about the younger brother, and the one that took all his inheritance and ran away, and blew it, and came back, and was forgiven, and blah, blah, blah. But the elder brother was the one who stayed. He waited for his inheritance. He worked, he took care of the land and the animals and the household and all that, because he knew that it was going to be his one day. So he took care of what he knew he was going to get. But when the younger brother came back, he was very angry, because the father, who had given everything else to him, now took some of it and gave it to the younger brother, who certainly didn't deserve it. And now he's angry, and now he wanted to come in and join them in the banquet, and here his brother has his cow and his robe and his ring, and he's out here being very angry. And I saw myself in that, because I thought, God, I've done all the right things. I feel like I've done your will. I feel like I've waited long enough, and I deserve a payout. So-and-so gets whatever they want, and they go on their hair through merry way, and they blow it, and you forgive them. But I don't need to be forgiven. I've stayed behind, and I've done what's right. Where is my blessing? What do I get in return? And what I have learned is, in Proverbs 16:18 it says, pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. And fall did I ever. At 53, my life came to a screeching halt. My company had made several mergers, and my job and my department had been dissolved. And they had moved me to a different department, and that department wasn't going to go too far, and so they moved me into a different position. And I realized at that point that I wasn't going to be able to perform the duties that I was expected to perform because of my physical issues. So I had to make a decision. Well, I knew I had been struggling with these issues for about 10 years, and I knew I had to have this surgery. And I knew a year prior to that that I just was at that point that I needed to do it. But I decided, no, I'm going to persevere. That's what I do. I persevere, and I'm going to just push through it, and I'm going to take care of it because I cannot afford it. I mean, I'm single. I don't have anybody to take care of me. I cannot be out of work for 3 months. I mean, what would I do? I just can't do that. And besides, with my company and everything, I mean, I could, they could say, oh, you have physical issues, well, goodbye, hire and fire at will, North Carolina. And so I was like, okay, I can't do that. So I persevered through. Well, all along, being spiritual. And God, I want to be in your will. And he's like, I kind of told you what that was, but you're not listening. So my life came to a screeching halt. I had to leave because I couldn't do my job and there was nothing else for me to do. Because they were going to make me travel extensively, and I had been there, done that many, many years prior, and I wasn't going to do it again. But physically, I couldn't. So, make a long story short, it's been a little over 3 years since I've worked. Now, I'm not good at math, okay? And Regina often coins the phrase that, she's too cute for math. I'm just going to be honest, I'm just too dumb, okay? But here's the thing. I'm pretty sure that 3 years is greater than 3 months. Okay. And I'm thinking, here I am. I'm still alive. And nothing really tragic has happened, and wow, God has really come through. I couldn't trust him to come through for 3 months, but he's proven himself for 3 years. And the thing is that all the while, Satan is still right here. Well, you lost your job, you have health problems because, God doesn't love you. You're not worthy to be blessed. And blah, 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 blah. And I kept hearing Brian talk about coming boldly before the throne of grace. And, I grew up in a religion where, you come humbly and beg and plead and prostrate and all that stuff. And, if you're good enough, if you fasted enough that week or you prayed enough that week or whatever, God was going to answer you. He's going to bless you. And, I prayed for God to heal me, and he did. And I'm thinking, I'm not worthy. And so that's what Satan tells me in my head. And so all the while that God is blessing me and taking care of me, I'm still saying, it's not going to last. He'll quit. He'll give up on me too, And so here we sit. And so one day I got enough, and I just went boldly before the throne. And I said, God, you're supposed to be my Heavenly Father. And I keep hearing these songs about what a good, good Father you are. And I don't know what that feels like. And not only do I know what it feels like, I don't know what it looks like. I never had that example. And if it smacked me down, I probably wouldn't know what it looked like. But I certainly don't think this is what it feels like. And I need you to prove yourself to me. I need you to prove to me that you love me enough, that you're going to meet my needs, and you're going to heal me. And I had this revelation all of a sudden. And it was like, who do you think's been doing it all along? Who do you think sustains you from day one? Did you ever take a breath that I did not ordain? And when I realized that it was never me. All this time I thought I was taking care of me. And the funny thing is that I realized that, and I thought, well, what do I do from here? I mean, where do I go from here? And I'm like, oh yeah, that plan B. Yeah, you know, the one I told you about God that if I couldn't do it, I'd let you know. Well, I'm letting you know. And he's like, and I'm letting you know. I always was and I always will be. And I think from that moment on, I knew what it felt like to have the Father's embrace. And to honestly be able to crawl up in his lap and put his arms around me and actually rest for the first time in my life. Because all those years that I was doing it for myself, the anxiety was, I can't last. It's not going to be enough. I'm gonna fail at some point. And so you've got the devil back here, even when you're doing good and things are going well. Satan is still beating you up in the back of your head, telling you you're not going to be enough. Because I never realized that it was God the whole time. It was always him. It was never me. Never going to be me. Well, to make a long story short, I actually had to go on disability last year, and it was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. I really felt like that day or that process ended my identity, it ended my purpose. What am I supposed to do now? You know, I mean, my whole life has been wrapped up in my work and my career, and I don't know what to do now. And God said, do what I called you to do. Come and rest. I don't think I've ever known what that felt like. Emotionally, physically, I've just always persevered through and did what I had to do, and it didn't matter what the cost or whatever, you just did it. And for God to call me out into a period of waiting and rest was an area I was not familiar with, and pretty much still am not. I'm still in the process of learning that. You know, like I said, I've asked God for healing. But God knows our needs more than we do. He knows what we need more than I do. And instead of him delivering me from the storm, he gave me peace in the midst of the storm. And that's why I had them sing this song beforehand. It's one of my favorites. And I'm just going to say a few of the words again because they just resonate so well. And it says, I know if you wanted, you could wave your hand. You could spare me this heartache and change your plan. And I know when he said that you could take my pain away, but even if you don't, I pray, help me want the healer more than the healing. Help me want the Savior more than the saving. And help me want the giver more than the giving. Help me want you, Jesus, more than anything. First time I heard that song on the radio, I was just blown away because I'm like, that's it. I don't need the healing. I need the healer. And then I realized I am healed because he healed something in me that was broken way back in my childhood. He healed something that Satan used from day one in my life to keep me in bondage to fear and anger and frustration. He healed that. And if he does nothing else, and I've said this many times, what he did on the cross is more than enough that I deserve. Okay? But if he does nothing else, he healed that wound in my heart where I feel like for the first time, I'm worthy. Now when I think about that, I think about the fact that, you know, when I was talking about, I just saw him as my salvation. You know, John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world. Yeah, that's right, he did. He loved the world. I just kind of got lumped into that. But my sister said something a couple years ago in one of her messages that just resonated with me. And she said, if you had been the only one, he still would have took that cross for you. I never believed that. I do now. And that's what I want for you. I want you to believe that God took that cross for you. And he takes your pain and your suffering. He always has, and he always will. And when we don't see the bigger picture, I didn't see the bigger picture. I didn't realize that what I really needed was rest and restoration. I thought I needed a job, a paycheck, physical healing. But I never knew that the healing that he has actually given me has been life-changing. It's changed my perspective. It's changed my relationship with him. And when I see that, that's what I want for you. He knows your needs too. He knows what the bigger picture is for you as well, and what it's going to take to bring you to that. And just like Gianna said, my CP keeps me dependent on God. And I realized that somebody asked me a couple weeks ago, if God healed you, what would you do? It was tough. Because I'm thinking to myself, well, what do you think I'd do? I'd go get a job. I'd go right back to what I was doing. And I thought, and what did you learn from this? What all transpired here did you take away from this? If that's what you're going to do, is turn around and repeat the same cycle. God has a way of getting our attention. Be careful what you pray for. And he has a way of bringing it to where he meets you at your need. And I don't know today what your need is. I don't know what season of life you're in. But I know this, that he can turn your ashes into purpose. Maybe God's not answering your prayer the way you thought he should. But I can tell you, he's working all things together for your good. And I know that he sees our spiritual healing as more important than he does anything else. The spiritual healing is essential to everything that follows. So in your waiting periods, focus on what God is doing in your heart, in your soul, in your mind. And all that other stuff will fall into place. I have a challenge for you to take home with you this week. I want you, when you get a chance and you get some time by yourself and you're quiet, you're able just to sit and really truly think, I want you to take out a piece of paper and I want you to draw 2 columns. And in the first column, I want you to write ashes. And I want you to write down the things in your life that have turned to ashes. Your dreams, your hopes, your marriages, your relationships, whatever it is. I want you to make a list. And in the other column, I want you to make a list of purpose for these ashes. And I want you to think back. What did God do for you? What did he teach you? What did he bring you through? What did you learn in that season? And I want you to just think on that. And did you learn it and retain it? Or are you still repeating the same cycle? And then I want you to either symbolically, or you can do it literally, I want you to burn the list. And in so doing, I want you to understand that when you lay those ashes on the altar of his mercy and his love and his forgiveness, that you will find your new purpose. As I said, all along, it was my strength, it was my courage, it was me that kept me going. I know that that's nothing close to the truth, that it was him all along. And Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. My prayer is that you allow your ashes to be used for God's glory. God does not waste one tear, one pain, 1 ounce of your suffering, 1 ash. They can all be transformed into something beautiful and purposeful for the furthering of his kingdom. But the choice is yours. The choice is yours to surrender those ashes so that you can purposefully live out what he created you to be. I pray that God gives you the strength to face whatever season of life you're in right now, knowing full well that he is the way, the truth, and the light, and that you can never, ever trade down with God, and that you can always trade up, and that you can be alive and beautiful in Christ with purpose. It doesn't matter what your ashes were. It doesn't matter what your history is. It doesn't matter what someone has identified you as. It matters what you are in Christ. And just to go back to the prodigal son as I close, they both, at some point, chose the Father's riches. But neither chose the Father's relationship. Today, I want you to understand that you can have the riches and the relationship. But you have to turn your heart and your mind toward home and prepare to experience the full embrace of your Heavenly Father. See, when he turned back toward home, he had no idea what he was going to find. If he would be forgiven, he thought he was going to have to end up as a servant again. But the Father ran and embraced him. And he loved him and forgave him, not because he was worthy, because he loved him. I want you to understand that your Father loves you. And you don't have to earn that. You don't have to deserve it. You just have to receive it. Today I want you to understand that the invitation to the palace is in your hand. Come as you are. There's no dress code. There's no nothing that you have to live up to. Just come. I want you to understand that his love and his salvation is free. It's a gift. Nothing's required of you, but just to receive it.